This is a center of literature and civility, although it has managed to remain off-center. It is beautiful and historic and accessible, and now more than ever booming with youth and prosperity. And I would love to sit in a pub and learn to light Guinness, tap my feet to the music, and have some good crack, which is why I've come to Dublin. One hates to generalize, but then again, everybody generalizes. And when it comes to the Irish, it has to be said. They're fond of their writers, their music, and the occasional drink, and not necessarily in that order. And Dubs, that is Dubliners, seem to like all of the above in spades, which means you cannot visit Dublin without experiencing these essentials of life. And that's not a bad thing at all. It's not difficult to see how Dublin, the capital of Ireland, came to be. Located in a natural bay, the city grew up around the River Liffey. The Liffey neatly divides the city north and south, which of course gives rise to a friendly rivalry. Southsiders would see themselves as more affluent and cultured, whereas, as Roddy Doyle puts it, Northsiders have soul. One thing Northsiders can lay claim to, measuring in at 120 meters, is the world's tallest sculpture. This is the Dublin Millennium Spire, completed in 2003, a little late, but what's the rush? It replaces Nelson's Pillar, which was blown up. And in typical Dublin wit, they've already found a name for this monument. They're calling it the Stiffy on the Liffey. Although they may not be filled, as they were in days gone by, there are still plenty of churches in Dublin. Christ Church was founded in 1038. A few years later, on the other side of the river, St. Michan's was established. This part is not for the faint-hearted. The most famous and creepy part of St. Michan's are the vaults. This in the land of the Banshees. This is where the bodies are. This is really extraordinary. These are, mummified bodies. They don't know if it's because it's, limestone in the walls or methane in the air, or the temperature in this room, but, skin remains and little bits of hair, and the coffins have broken open, and you can actually make out their hands and their toes. By the way, did you know Bram Stoker, the creator of Dracula, was a Dubliner? Just thought I'd throw that in. This is the Mecca, as you can see. This is where it all started. Arthur Guinness, 1759, 4 acres of land and a 9,000-year lease, which has turned into the biggest brewery in Europe, 625 acres. They brew 4 million pints here a day, one for every person in this country. So they've got the whole tourism thing going. There's a museum, there's a shop with everything Guinness on it, and I believe you can get a pint at the top of the building. Sure enough, not only did I get a free pint, but they trusted me to pour my own. Now, should I tell you something? Make a confession, I don't like Guinness.
I think you'll like your own pint. You pour to yourself, all that effort's gone into pouring.
It's like liking your own children, and maybe that's true. It's an acquired taste, I hear.
It is.
Okay.
Sláinte.
Sláinte. Oh, these are beautiful. You got to admit that. It's better than I remember.
There you are.
Maybe it took me about 10 seconds to acquire the taste. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's damn good. Grafton Street, a great place for shopping and people watching. Here you can see the face of the new Ireland. For the first time in its history, it has become a nation of immigrants, and 50% of the population of Ireland is now under the age of 25. If music is any indication of a city's character, well, you get the idea. Now this is a destination. Thank you, God, for letting me live in the U2 time. This is where the U2 fanatics show up, Windmill Lane Studios, where they recorded some of their first discs. Now, I love Bono. I love It's a Beautiful Day. Still haven't found what I'm looking for. I think what he's doing for Third World Debt, quite frankly, is fantastic. But anyway, fans hang around here, maybe thinking they'll catch a glimpse of Bono or The Edge. And while they're here, they just paint the walls. It's fantastic looking. So I'm thinking, I might just wait a minute, just in case, because you never know. You never know. Founded in 1592 by Queen Elizabeth I, Trinity College Dublin is Ireland's oldest university. It is a beautiful campus, right in the heart of the city, the kind of place where you think, maybe I could go back to school and actually learn something this time. This would certainly be the place to do it. The library here contains more than 4 million volumes and one very special book. This is one of the most beautiful rooms in the world. It is a dream of what a library should be, and it's wonderful just to soak up the atmosphere here. Downstairs is the Book of Kells, which is too old, too precious, and too fragile for us to photograph. But it is the exquisitely illuminated manuscript from 800 or so of the 4 Gospels, and it's been described as the work of an angel, not of a man. Trust me, I've seen it and it is marvelous. But it's not the only book in town. Not surprisingly, Dublin is an antiquarian book lover's dream, and this is a very cool shop, one of the best. It's called Cathedral on Duke Street. Look at some of the stuff they've got. Yeats, The Tower. Isn't that a beautiful binding from 1928? 1,500 euros. This is a 10th edition of Ulysses, published in Paris, and some of the pages still stuck together. It is quite fragile and lovely. And did you know that Joyce wrote a children's story? He wrote it for his grandson Stephen. It's called The Cat and the Devil. Look at this. I never even knew he'd done that. The lovely Stephen still owns the copyright on all his things, Stephen Joyce, and a first edition, self-published, of The Commitments by Roddy Doyle. Only 800 sold and can be yours. 495 euros.
I'm standing with Enda Mullen, who is the general manager of the Westin Hotel in Dublin, in a room with plaster where it looks like it should be in a castle or something.
This room actually, Valerie, functioned as a bank for 135 years. The plasterwork, as you say, is unique. We have lovingly restored this room, added some chandeliers, as you can see, and this now is the focal point of the hotel. This is our main function room, and we call it the banking hall at the Westin.
Despite the best efforts of property developers and some strange political thinking over the years, a fair amount of Georgian Dublin has survived. The architecture is characterized by 4-story brick terraced housing. A collage of the richly colored doors has become one of Ireland's best-selling posters. This is Marion Square, which is the largest and grandest of the beautiful Georgian squares in Dublin. You know where the expression daylight robbery came from? The English put a tax on windows, so you notice they get teenier as you go up the buildings. Now here we have number 82, which was the home of William Butler Yeats, Nobel laureate, great poet. Oscar Wilde lived just around the corner. This is such a wonderful statue to Oscar Wilde. He looks alive. He looks like he's looking you in the eye. His smoking jacket is made out of marble, but it looks like it could be silk. He was only 46 when he died. And then there's these lovely posts that are sort of scribbled on. It looks like graffiti, but you can contemplate some of the wonderful Wildeisms. There is no sin except stupidity. A cynic is the man who knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. Only dull people are brilliant at breakfast. I can resist everything except temptation. But I love this one. This is so nice. We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars.
By now, you should be getting the picture. Dublin is a literary city and it's a drinking city. Now, what if you combine those two? Well, some bright spark did just that, and now you have Jemison Literary Pub Crawl. First stop, the Duke on Duke Street.
Charming spot. Inspiring prospects. Let's go.
We can't.
Why not?
We're waiting for Godot.
Are you sure it was here?
What?
That we were to wait.
He said by the tree. Do you see another?
What is it?
I don't know. A willow.
Where are the leaves?
It must be dead.
No more weeping.
Local actors Frank Smith and Brendan Morrissey breathe life into Beckett's complex characters.
Very much indeed. Stop. You're wasting valuable drinking time. Thanks very much.
While the others duck into O'Neill's for a quick pint, I take the time to ask the obvious.
Why are there so many great writers from Dublin?
I put it down to the alcohol myself. Great inspiration. I think it comes, there's been a terrific tradition of storytelling in Ireland, long before down through the centuries when there was nothing to do.
So who's your favorite writer? Who do you love being or doing the most?
Oh God, I love the likes of Brendan Behan.
And one of Frank's favorite anecdotes recalls Behan's encounter with a Canadian journalist.
The journalist, realising he was being led up the garden path, got another question in. He said, Mr. Behan, you've been drinking quite heavily all your life. Are you even capable of telling the difference between prose and poetry anymore? Brendan, loving a challenge, looked at him and he said, prose and poetry? Me till I tell you. There was a young fella called Rollocks who worked for the Ferrier Pollocks. He walked down the strand with his girl by the hand, and the water came up to his knees. Now that's prose. Of course, if the tide had been in, that would have been f***ing poetry. The journalist duly gave up at that stage.
Dublin is a relatively small city, a fact that enables one to get out and about in the countryside. You can cover quite a distance in a day trip. Today, I'm heading south to County Wicklow, appropriately named the Garden of Ireland.
This is one of the most beautiful gardens in all of Ireland. In this setting beneath the Sugarloaf Mountain, it took 100 men 12 years to create this, under the leadership of a character named Daniel Robertson, who had gout. And so he was taken about in a wheelbarrow with a bottle of sherry and would tell the men what to do. When the sherry ran out, he would stop for the day. Wonder why he had gout. Wonder why it took 12 years to finish.
Stretching over 47 acres, you discover formal gardens, ornamental lakes, and elegant statuary. And a sundial? How can they know if it works? There is an off chance when you're in Ireland you might run into a spot of rain. And important to understand the locals when they start describing the weather to you. If they say it's soft, you might want to take an umbrella. If they say hard soft, buy yourself one of these smart-looking coats. They say there's a dry rain, don't believe them. Wet rain, absolutely believe them. When it's horizontal, they'll say it's lashing, and that's really serious stuff. Or perhaps cats and dogs, stay inside. There's a reason it's so green. This would be the cats and dogs variety, but I won't let it stop me. This is one of those cliched Irish postcard images, but they don't shoot those in the rain. It is still worth visiting Glendalough, which is an ancient monastic site that all began with a man named Kevin. Kevin was an odd fellow. He came to this place in the 6th century to live in a cave that was 3 feet by 4 feet, and he would jump in the lake naked in the winter and naked into nettles in the summer. But he attracted followers, and there were too many people to fit in the cave, so they built this community, which attracted people from England and from Europe. It was a university city, a center of learning, and it flourished for 600 years. By the way, Kevin became a saint, and legend has it lived to be 120. Must have had something to do with the rain. This is the beautiful rocky coastline of South Dublin Bay and one of the old Martello Towers, fortifications left over from the Napoleonic time. But this one is special. This is the James Joyce Museum. And it was in this tower he stayed, the guest of one Oliver St. John Gogarty, whom he turned into the character Buck. And it's here he opens Ulysses, considered to be the greatest novel of the 20th century.
Stately plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. Yellow dressing gown ungirdled was sustained gently behind him by the mild morning air.
Robert Nicholson is the curator of the James Joyce Museum in this beautiful tower, which has particular significance as well.
It certainly does. The most famous novel of the 20th century, Ulysses, opens just beside where you're standing.
Well, how do you explain Joyce's fame and renown, particularly because, many people are unable to read Ulysses and maybe even his other works?
How long do you have?
30 seconds.
Well, just everything about Ulysses is totally unusual. He broke all the boundaries and just changed all our ideas of what a novel should be.
Do you think he was the greatest writer of the 20th century?
Well, I'm standing here, I have the job, I say he was.
You win. There's no one to argue with you. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
If all you know about St. Patrick is green beer in the middle of March, it is important to know more because he was an extraordinary person. He spent the last 30 years of his life bringing Christianity to Ireland. He's the first human being to speak out against slavery, and he is a key part to how the Irish saved civilization, which is a great book, by the way. But this is St. Patrick's Cathedral, built in the 13th century near a well where Patrick reputedly baptized the Irish. Beside the cathedral, there is a lovely public park. At least I thought it was public.
This is my front garden, and I let everyone in free.
Well, I'm sitting in St. Patrick's Park with Maura and Mary and Chrissy. You're just trying to learn a few things about Dublin. So what's your favorite Dublin expression?
Wipe your nose and I'll bring you.
Yeah.
Wipe your nose and I'll bring it. What does that mean?
And may all your troubles be like Granny's teeth, few and far between.
That's a good one.
What does good crack mean?
It means fun. General thing now, the young people always say, oh, it's great crack. Nothing to do with drugs.
Well, girls, lovely to be with you.
Lovely to meet you too, and enjoy the rest of your stay in Ireland.
Thank you so much. Tonight, I am determined to have the crack.
Temple Bar is now arts and culture and the film industries here, but it's also party central. So every night everybody comes cruising looking for the action here. You hear a lot of non-Irish accents. People just want to have a good time. A few more drinks, I suppose.
And to think, this is only a Thursday night.
Dublin is a city of literature and civility, even more so because of how much they love and honor and respect their writers and artists. They don't even tax them. And you have to like a place that has like a slightly rude rhyme for all its monuments. There is a lack of pretension. One thing that is not even vaguely humorous in this place is the traffic, which is horrendous. You only pray that all those under 25s who are about to take over this place understand what a treasure they have here and don't try and change its character, or should I say, character. It's a lovely place to visit. Okay, Berlin, Dubrovnik, Dublin, Australia, Cook Islands, Lebanon, Morocco, Panama.
Mrs. Pringle, how are you doing
Is
here?
it time for my flight?
What are you talking about? You're in Toronto. Go home, you're finished.
Come on. I'm a little confused.
That's
I'm
okay.
finished?
Yes. You're finished. You can go home now.
Thank you.